Greetings everyone and welcome back. Hope everyone is doing great and is enjoying this new patch. For me it's shaping up to be very pleasant and I would love to set aside some time and play more. So in this video I'm breaking down my experience with every 10 I completed, what I learned, what still needs work, and the biggest insights I picked up while playing through it all. I'm still learning, but that's exactly why this is worth sharing. So let's jump in. Proud to say that in this vault, the RNG gods were kind enough to offer me a Heart of the Wind myth track. It's not the best of trinkets, but certainly not the worst. The increase in strength is always welcome, and although haste is not particularly the most sought after stat for Blood Death Knights, it works. As any good adventurist begins, I consider that being prepared massively helps in tackling any form of content. And regarding the hero talents, I've decided to opt for Deathbringer as my hero talent choice. This build basically offers passive damage reduction and it's much easier to play. While Sandlane has a cool thematic in my opinion, the gameplay loop is a bit strict, focusing more on the management of the Blood Queen buff. So my talent tree looks something around these lines, with the following flexible points. Either Wraith Walk or a much potent Death's Advance with the initial movement speed increase. Or of course opting out Cold Thirst, which for every successful interruption I gain 10 runic power. I can also opt for taking this talent point into Control Undead when it's the case for some of the dungeons. I do not exactly know all the tech for Control Undead as of now. I know that's in Pit of Sauron. I do have some contenders over there, but like I said, I'm still learning stuff. Gearing for now comes down to me being happy with any item level increase, meaning the more strength, more stats, the better. Although I will start focusing primarily on critical strike and mastery as my endgame build, with crit doubling down both as offensive and defensive stat with almost 1-to-1 conversion to parry, and mastery basically coating my Death Strike's healing with a much needed physical damage reduction, damage shield. All of these combined should offer my Blood Death Knight enough damage and survivability to tackle harder content. Omniofolia, this majestic looking element infused vase on steroids, is the new 1207 passive borrow power progression system. It is basically a mini talent tree that offers permanent combat buffs. Personally, I chose to go with the Rune of Unleashed Fire and the Rune of Void Tainted Shell for extra damage and shield. That is pretty much passive as of now and will play along with different combination once the full tree is released. It is a bit early to tell how powerful these additions will be. Now let's dive in some insights I've discovered and experienced during my dungeons. Firstly, a common practice I found myself constantly repeating is that storing runic power is vital in order to be ready to use, especially when pulling and gathering up mobs. While tagging them, I need to constantly weave damage globals for aggro, run, also face mobs as much as possible, and regenerate the lost health with death strikes. This part requires a lot of practice on my end, and the danger of me dying and eating dirt is very high if misplayed. As it can be seen in my Sarah Caverns, I proc my cheat death due to high amount of damage I receive. The mistake here was not using a potent damage reduction cooldown or even overlap several DRs so I don't die, so I don't waste my cheat death. Secondly, I should always use my utility to facilitate my teammates and look for better and safer positions to tank. Death Knights have death grips, which means that I can reposition almost every mob, especially those pesky casters. so they can be properly locked down and focused as a group rather than having stragglers here and there. By actively using my utility, I can make the fight easier for everyone and keep the encounter more organized and easier, at least in theory. Beside grips, in my utility belt, I have one single target stun and asphyxiate, an AoE frontal disorient in blinding sleet, and anti-magic shell and anti-magic zone. Anti-magic shell is capable of negating some mechanics and even act as an immunity for other spells such as ground effects, and the zone is a very good group damage reduction area and comes in handy while heavy AoE magic damage is undergoing. All of these are excellent tools to have, and they're mandatory to use if you want the run to go smooth. When I actively use my ability, I can help control the pace of the run, reduce chaos, and sometimes make dangerous pulls a bit more manageable for the whole group. That means fewer necessary hits, better mob positioning, and a much easier time for the healer and the DPS to do their jobs. In short, using these tools isn't just helpful, it's a big part of keeping the run clean, efficient, and safe. Thirdly, mobility is one of the Death Knight's biggest weaknesses. We do have a few useful tools like Death's Advance, which is a great tool to use for ignoring knockbacks and can even be decent for short bursts of movement. It's definitely helpful in situations where you need to keep moving without getting pushed around. However, overall movement is still very limited. Wraithwalk is supposed to help with that, but in my opinion, it's not the most reliable because it requires a channel, and in order to benefit from the movement speed, it basically locks you out of using any other abilities while it's active. And that feels clunky. Lastly, I should always be mindful of how much I pull, because things can spiral out of control very quickly if I get too greedy. That's especially true with the amount of casters, puddles, and AoE damage we deal with this season, since all of that can put a lot of pressure on both the group and myself. Instead of trying to rush into huge pools right away, I need to build up to them gradually and get a better feel of what my limits are and my cooldowns. It also makes sense to study how other tanks handle these pools online, but even more importantly, I should focus on how Blood Death Knights approach them specifically, since their pools and playstyles are a bit different. That way I can improve more safely and make smarter pulls without dragging the whole dungeon into chaos. So that's my take on Blood Death Knights in dungeons. The spec has a lot going for it. It has decent survivability, good utility, and the ability to control packs really well. But you definitely have to respect its weaknesses too, especially mobility and overpulling. When played well, Blood Death Knights feel amazing, and it's a tank that really rewards good decision making and pre-planning. Thanks for watching, everyone, and feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments below. A like, share, and subscribe would also help support the channel a lot. As you may well know, it's a baby channel, it's just started. See you in the next one.